drums.
All right, cool, great. Well, I won't do it again. But that was a song by Goldhost that I've been performing with an artist. I don't know why it didn't play. Excellent, one button. Anyway, that's a shame. There are some other songs I will play. Today I'm going to be talking about some technique, some coordination, and then how we will put that together with some rhythms that we would put into a song, for songwriting, if we're going to do original music, like the one you didn't hear just then. So to begin with, some of you have had lessons with me, some of you have had lessons with Mitchell, some of you haven't had lessons with either of us. But hopefully this will be part of what we're trying to teach together. I'm going to talk about these things and then do some songs at the end, and if you have any questions at the end, please feel free to ask. So technique is really, really important. It's the most important thing that we need for drums. And when we're holding drumsticks, the most important thing we need to remember is we get this to bounce. If this doesn't bounce, then we're not going to be able to play very well. The best part about making sure that something bounces is that we have gravity helping it fall all the time. So if we're going to have a technique that works really well, we need to make sure that we're thinking about letting things fall. Now, not just letting it hit after it falls, but allowing it to fall and then bounce and come back up again. Just like if I was dropping a ball. If I drop the ball to the ground, it's going to bounce, hopefully. If it's flat, it won't, of course. But if it's bouncing, then that means gravity has pushed it down and it keeps pushing it back down again and again until the force that was there has gone away. So when we're playing, what we really want to do is just have enough force, extra force on top of what we're doing with the stick, so that it bounces back to the same height. We shouldn't ever have to play and then use our muscles to lift it again. It doesn't need to be lifted ourselves. It's all about using gravity and that bounce to get the stick to come back. Now there's another really important thing about actually holding the drumstick. If I were to have a seesaw, everyone been on a seesaw before? You should all be saying yes. Right. I've got two people on a seesaw, they're going backwards and forwards. If I construct a seesaw, I would have two poles either side, and then one pole going through the middle so it pivots well. Yeah? Now let's say I constructed a seesaw that had three poles, and each of these poles had another piece of metal going through the seesaw. Is it going to move well? It's not. It's going to get quite stuck. I'll bet the wood might bend a little, but it's not really going to pivot very well. And that's what's really important about a technique. You want to make sure you have 2 points where the stick pivots, not 3 or more. So you always want to grip with 2 fingers. Now the way I teach it, and the way Mitchell's been teaching it, is that our thumb and our index finger grip the stick. Our index finger in the first groove of the stick, directly opposite our thumb. And if our thumb's on the side of the stick, here, instead of on top, it means that this stick is free to pivot in between these 2 points, just like our seesaw. If I were to put my index finger further forward of the thumb, and then a third finger behind the thumb, I've now got 3 points where it doesn't pivot very well. So we're after 2 points for where it pivots. Now the reason why I would always have a thumb on the side is that when the stick is pivoting, you see that my fingers don't separate. If I put my thumb on top, you can see that the fingers actually separate from each other. They get further away from each other. It makes it very hard to actually grip the stick whilst you're playing. So we've got a pivot point, we've got points to actually hold the stick, and we're working with gravity to help the stick to bounce. Okay? Furthermore, you can see there's quite a lot of instruments over here. One of the things I really try to make sure I talk about with technique is that you have a technique that works on everything. Not one technique for one instrument and one technique for a cymbal. Something that works everywhere is going to be more efficient. So if I would actually play on the snare drum and get the stick to bounce, I'd want to make sure that I can use a similar, if not exactly the same technique on everything else here. Now, if I've got this grip with my thumb and index finger, you see that if I get my other fingers underneath the stick, the back end of the stick's actually on the outside of my wrist. See, it's on the outside. That's really important for when this stick is actually pivoting. And it also helps us play everything else around. If that back end of the stick is on the inside of my arm, I can definitely still play the snare drum. It's not a problem. But if I start playing this cymbal up here, maybe on the bell, see where my arm is. Now I'm going to have my arm up in the air, and if I want to play this for an extended period of time, I'm going to get really tired. So having the back end of the stick on the outside of your wrist actually allows your wrist to move forward and get the stick to fall flat on every cymbal and every drum. So it's a bit harder there. So from here, in front of me without having to put my elbows up in the air. I might need to get a little bit higher to reach other instruments, but because we're using gravity to get this to fall, it's always going to work better if it falls parallel to the ground. As soon as I start playing at an angle, we're not really getting gravity to help us bounce. Gravity is always going down. So if I start playing at this angle, it's not really helping me come back all the time. It's always me playing. So every instrument should be played flat. Okay. Now, another really important thing is coordination. I'm going to get everyone to do a little exercise as well. Even mums and dads and everyone else. Really, really important thing for coordination. A lot of people think that in order to be a drummer, you just have to be naturally coordinated. I totally disagree. Anyone can learn coordination at any age. It's all about how you think about applying this coordination. Now, if everyone's sitting down, I'm going to grab a seat. If everyone's sitting down, I'd like you to just do one thing for me. We're all going to play both of our hands on our knees at exactly the same time as each other. Okay, you ready? Everyone together. You missed it. Let's try that again. No, right. Now try this, okay? Everyone together with me. And again. Right, wait for me. See how we're all in time all of a sudden? What's going on there is that we have this preparation. As soon as we all prepare together and we let things fall, gravity is working the same for everyone. It works at the same speed. So we all fall together. So if we prepare both of our hands together and let them fall at the same speed, they're always going to hit at the same time. And that's true for our feet as well, for everything. So if I want my right hand and my right leg to play together, I will lift them both together and let them fall together. Okay? Can anyone pat their head and rub their stomach? Excellent, that's what. Please, yeah, very good. Back again, right? Yeah. Now, here's a really, really simple truth about coordination. I've been doing that for quite some time now. But the way to get coordination to work is to work out certain movements that work together and then piece them slowly together as well. So you'll see that as I pat, there's one movement and then a second movement up. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's it. There's only 2 movements, up and down. And as far as the circle goes, I can split that into 2 movements as well. I can start low and go around at the top. That's 1. Go down at the bottom. That's 2. So you coordinate the 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 1, 2. So every single piece of coordination that you'll need to do can be learned as long as you look at it and do it slowly. From there on, it's just a matter of practicing it and it gets faster and faster. Let's see if we can all try a straight rock beat. Okay, this is the fundamental beat that every single drummer should start off with. Okay, now we're all going to do this with our right hand and we're going to count to 4. Our right hand and our right knee, please not the thighs, I don't want red thighs going out the door. Our right hand is going to play every single beat. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Great. Okay. Now, if you keep counting as well, that will help. Our left hand's going to play on our left knee, and we're going to get that to play when we say the beat 3. Okay? So, in order for this to actually play at the correct time, it needs to lift at the same time as the right hand before 3. So it'll look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they both come up at the same time, so they fall at the same time. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's great. Why are you all learning drums? Okay, now we're going to make it a little bit harder. We'll forget the left hand for a moment. We're going to get our right foot to play on the ground. Now you can either use your heel or you can use the ball of your foot. The right foot's going to play when we say 1. So that will be with the right hand at the same time. 1, like that. Okay, so we lift them both together and then we play the other 3 notes. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Great. Okay. So let's put that left hand back in. Remember that the right foot is coming up at the same time as the left hand. And then we get beat 2 with the right hand. I said left hand before, sorry. I'm playing backwards so that you can all get it. And then our right hand and our left hand lift together for 3, and then right hand again on 4. Okay? Count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, both hands, 3, 4. Right foot, 2, both hands, 3, 4. Right foot, and both hands. 1, 2, 3. That's good. That's good. There's a lot of really good movement going on there. And essentially, every single part of coordination that you need to do will either be things lifting at the same time so they can fall at the same time, or lifting opposite. If we lift opposite, that's more like a single stroke rock. And that's this. Everyone does it. So you can see if I want to play 2 things together, up together, they fall together. And even if we get faster, they start bouncing, so we can continue to play. But if I want them to play opposite each other, one comes down, the other one goes up. Even that's part of a coordination. If I play one and then the other, it's actually harder to get faster. Our brain can't quite work out what's going on because it's giving 4 signals instead of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's more than our brain has to think about, rather than, all right, move these muscles and these muscles on 1. These ones and these ones, 2. It's only 2 signals. Much easier. I'm going to give some examples of some of the riffs that I've come across in some of the bands that I play with. Could you just turn that down a bit? That's the one of the last video. Let's turn it down a bit.
It's right down the bottom of the
Okay, here is a guitar riff from one band that I'm in. That over here is a musical representation of the rhythm that the guitarist is playing. Now, hopefully, most students have done crotchets and quavers. If you haven't, terribly sorry. But we do have crotchets in the first and the third bar of this pattern. And then over here we have these other quaver patterns. One is actually tied to another crotchet. So I'll press play on it again, and I'll show you in the music where we're up to. So when we understand the rhythm of what we're listening to, it makes it a lot easier to actually come up with patterns ourselves that can follow along to what someone else is playing. Now, the beat that I gave you all before, the straight rock beat, fits everything. Everything. I'm going to play that for you, and I'll just play along to this. And I'll show you how, in the two examples I have, it fits both. Straight rock beats and a lot of AC/DC. It fits everything because all it does is accent the beat. That's it. And anyone else, any other musician, is free to play around that. But we've got some other rhythms here that we can play with. We can definitely do other different types of things. And it doesn't mean that we have to follow every single beat either. A lot of what's over here, all these extra quavers, we can do other fills, we can do other tones, lots of different actual scenarios. Yeah. In this bar here, if I were to play the straight rock beat, there's actually a snare that comes in between on the offbeat there, in a rest where no other instrument is playing. So what I came up with was something that means I can follow a little bit more of what's going on. So you can see, I'll play it for you, that we can change where we have instruments depending on what melodically we can hear. is following different rhythms at different times. But because the straight rock beat always fits, it's always okay to put a snare drum and a bass drum in those regular spots. So if I put a bass drum here, or a snare drum here, or in this rest, it always fits. It doesn't matter what else is going on. So when I actually came up with something for this riff, I left the snare drum in this bar, and then decided to change where I place the snare drum for the fourth bar. Okay. Are there any questions about that? Let me give another example now. Has anyone looked at playing semiquavers yet? Yes? There's one. Yeah, two. Okay, good, right. So this one's a little bit more complicated. The rhythm is here. You can follow that. And the first one was quite simple, but this one here, it only repeats in one bar instead. And it has 4 notes that actually start before the beat. It's called an anacrusis. Right. This one here is a little bit more complicated, and you'll hear this rhythm comes up on the guitar. I put it in brackets because it's actually not melodic, it's just a scratch. So it doesn't actually fit into the rhythm, but we can always follow that if we want. I'll play the riff for you. Of music and another musician actually playing something else, if we can understand how the rhythm goes, we can come up with a lot of different things. So the rhythm there is... And once again, if I play a straight rock beat, it should still work. But there's a lot more going on here, and depending on the type of musicians you're playing with and what they actually want you to do as well, you have a bit of free rein with that rhythm there to play whatever you really like. So you can follow this anacrusis going in at the end of every bar if you like. You can follow some of the accents that sit quite heavy in here. But most of all, you need to think about, do I play bass drum or snare drum in between? Where do I place the bass drum and the snare drum? Now, I'm going to try playing something really bizarre, not very straight down the road, and I'll show you how the rhythms do fit, but I think you'll probably agree it's not the best thing to listen to. goes, it's not the best for a song. If someone was singing over the top of that, there's so much going on. It's incredibly hard for them to kind of focus on where the beat is. And as an audience member, if you listen to that over and over and over and over again, it's different all the time, it's a little bit too much on the ears. So generally you'll try to come up with a pattern that follows some of what's going on, and then if you have a moment you can do a little bit more. You don't always want to follow a really, really complicated rhythm. So I will play something I came up with for it. I've made sure that in the anacrusis, before everyone starts on the beat, I've done a fill here. I've done something on the snare drum that matches that rhythm. And to me, it sounds like the guitars at this point here sound really heavy. Sound like there's something much bigger going on there. So I decided that after that first fill, I would actually accent it on purpose with 2 cymbals. So it's not the first beat, because there's actually nothing there. A lot of other people would accent 1 when they start. But this is the accent before the bar. So this here is now where all of the weight lands on the beat, on the riff. Hopefully you can hear what I'm talking about. Okay. Right, so I'm going to play through 2 of the songs, well those 2 songs I've just given examples of. And then we can have some questions. This one here is by a band called Rick Dangerous and the Silky Bantams. We get to dress up in white suits. It's rather fun. Hopefully you'll hear one of the riffs I've talked about. And hear what changes I do to this rhythm throughout the song. Is that too loud?
Too loud.
Okay. Okay, and this one is the second example here. Now, I haven't played this for about a month. Let's see how it goes. Did anyone count any different variations of that theme in there? There was 4 different variations of that rhythm within that song. They're all slightly different to each other, but it's always this rhythm that I came back to. I just played slightly different in different parts of the song. Okay, does anyone have any questions? I don't care what it's about. It could be about the drum kits, the cymbals, anything.
One thing I always ask Mitchell every week is how do you count whilst you're playing? I still can't get over. Are you guys going 1, 2, 3, 4 the whole time, or is it just you get so used to the rhythm that you sort of know, how it works? Or
Counting is always that thing that has to be there from the start. You must always be counting, so that once you've done 4 or 5 years of just counting all the time, making sure you know where the beat is, eventually you start hearing where that is in a song without actually counting. You can never really just let it go because you want to. It's always this thing that needs to be there until it feels like, you know what, I don't actually need to count anymore. Personally, through a lot of the stuff, when I'm rehearsing with the band and they give me something like this to come up with, I start picturing the numbers in front of my face. It's just the way I've done it, I guess. So I'll picture a wheel going 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of me. So I just know what I'm up to. I'm sure lots of other people have different techniques to kind of remember where the beat is and everything. But it is just one of those essential things that when you are starting out, count, count, and count. And the more you've practiced it, the easier it does get. Does that kind of answer it?
yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
What are you hearing are you hearing the whole song? Are you hearing the,
Yes.
yeah.
I'll show you exactly what I'm hearing whilst that's going on. So I can hear the music, but a lot of the times I play with bands that need me to play exactly in time with backing tracks. So I end up having to play with this. I'm sure that would get annoying for most for quite some time, but when you're listening to it for an extended period of time, it kind of just sits in the background. Playing with the metronome is something I recommend all students practice anyway, because it does help you to keep in time when you're not playing with the metronome. Secondly, metronomes are a great thing because when you need to practice something slow and you want to get it correct, you can then just put the tempo up a little bit. And then if it's only up a little bit, you kind of trick your brain into thinking, well, this is the same. Go a little bit more, it's the same thing. And eventually you're actually playing it really fast if you go up by little increments. But I'm sure everyone sat down and tried something really slow and gone, yeah, I can do it. Now I do it fast, and then it falls apart. And it's generally because when we try something slow and get it correct, to do it a little bit faster in our head is always, okay, let's go 20, 30 clicks faster. That's quite a difference. I can play you the difference of how, if I were going to practice something, I would set a metronome up. So, right now, this is 102. So if I was satisfied with that tempo at what I was playing, I would put the metronome up by only 4 beats. So 106. Tell me if you can hear the difference. It's little, it's a tiny little difference. But if I were to play that tempo and then bump it up 20 clicks, which is what a lot of people accidentally do, you'll hear the difference considerably. practice with the metronome, always tiny little bits at a time. Any other questions?
Are you holding your breath or breathing? Because you seem to be holding your breath a lot. Do you like?
Definitely lots of breathing. Definitely
you
lots of
just
breathing.
seem to.
A lot of the the timing for playing accents as well usually has a big breath before, and I exhale on a lot of the bigger notes. Yeah. So if it's just playing along, the breathing's pretty steady. But yeah, say in this one here, I said there were 2 big hits here. Just before that, there's a big exhale a lot at that point, which is why I find it incredibly hard to drum and sing, because the breathing's at different times. Yeah. No, I always make sure that the breathing's there, and then whenever I come out of something complex, I make sure that I'm breathing in as well, having my posture upright, making sure I can reach everything. Generally, you should feel quite relaxed whilst you're playing the whole time. And if everything's bouncing around, then you shouldn't really be getting tense for any moment. The idea of teaching this technique is so that you can play this for hours and hours and hours and feel a bit worn out but not sore. You should never really feel sore afterwards and need to massage something. It should just be really, really easy. Which goes in with the breathing. If we're not breathing, then we tend to get too tight.
No, can I start with the earphones again? The other members of the band, do they have got the guitarists and ear caps in as well?
No.
That's
Well,
not.
especially with those 2 bands I played today,
Yeah.
they never play to backing tracks.
Yeah.
So they're always reliant on me to keep the tempo straight. But then other bands that I do play with, I'm the only person that hears the click, because they just go with what I'm playing.
Yeah. Does that sort of spoil it a little bit? I mean, you're obviously used to it, but does that spoil it for a drummer a bit if he's not getting the whole, performance as the audience is hearing it? Obviously, the guitarists are, and whatever, if they haven't got metronomes in their ears, but for a drummer, to have earphones and you're hearing the metronome all the time, you're not getting the whole impact of the.
No, I understand. No, I would definitely say yes, it does spoil the mood and enjoying the music. But as, I guess, a professional, all I need to do is the job.
Yeah.
So if I have to play to a metronome, I will pretend that I'm not. And perform like that's not going on. I'm in control of this band. And especially with the metronome, I am in control of the band. I just have to pretend like I'm enjoying it just as much as if that's not there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just, is it sort of more the style of music you're playing too? Because I mean, when we've had concerts and things, and we obviously have had earphones in, but you really get the whole sense of it, and it's lovely. And is it because we're not playing probably not playing that type of music, or it's not as loud, or is it?
Well, I guess the main reason why most people would play with a backing track is that they can't afford to pay a whole bunch of musicians to play all that extra music. So Gold Heist and Joel Graffiti, the rapper I play with, they both give me backing tracks, and then we either get extra musicians for some parts and let it run off the computer, or we let everything run off the computer. In those instances, that's only because they can't afford to pay 5 or 6 musicians to play all the rest of the stuff. So in that scenario, it works really well. But in those 2 bands there, we don't ever use backing tracks because we've always got the musicians to play all the actual music. I would actually always prefer to not play with a metronome, because there's actually a bit of push and pull in music live that should be there, and it should really be spot on all the time. If you're playing like a computer, you start to sound a little bit too mechanical, and it doesn't really flow. That makes sense. I guess it's another lecture.
Yeah.
Any questions? No? Okay. I might finish it there. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and thank you for Mitchell for helping out as well. I hope you've learned something from that, and I hope to see you all again soon. Okay? Thank you.